And joining us, we have amongst us Mr. Lloyd Matthias, business strategist and director. Then we have Mr. Jignesh Kenya, president and head corporate strategy and digital transformation, Times Network. Neelama Bura, chief strategy transformation and marketing officer, Luminous Power Technologies. Vidit Jain, co-founder, Kind Life. Wow. Can we give them a big round of applause? I would request our panelists to please join me on the dais. Hello, ma'am. Hi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon and welcome to the second session after lunch. I've got three interesting panelists. There's Vidit from Kind Life, there's Nilima from Luminous, and Jignesh from the Times Television Network. And what we're going to discuss in this session is really about the effectiveness of television and what can TV do to stay more relevant in this new kind of digital age. Now, just to tee off a quick little point, television by far is still the number one medium in terms of reach. Right? We know for a fact that television reaches 90 crore Indians, 900 million humans in this country, and therefore is the one medium that no mass brand can do without. When you talk about really getting to the depth of the country, I think television still remains the cornerstone. Having said which, what we've seen in the last decade, and specifically since, say, 2017, the post-Geo phenomena, is that digital has emerged a very, very significant medium. And on two counts, I think firstly because digital can be very personal. It can serve you an advertisement very contextually, knowing a lot of your demographic and psychographic background. And two, because digital has a very low barrier to entry in terms of pricing. You can get started at a very, very limited price point, where television typically tended to be only for large advertisers. So that's really the background. What we're here really to understand is what are the changes? How does television stay more relevant to advertisers, specifically to digital-first advertisers? There are a lot of brands today that spend almost all their marketing money purely on digital mediums. Obviously the big platforms like Facebook, Google search and such like, but also on a lot of very, very sliced and diced niche platforms. I'm going to start off first with you, Vidit. And really as a digital-first brand, which Kind Life is, how do you all look at the entire media mix? And where does television feature into your overall media plan?
So we are a startup right now, and for us, we want to capture the digital people first, and then we want to move to further base. And whatever money we spend right now on any kind of media, we want to figure out what's the ROI we are getting out of it. I would still say that television, we might get the ROI, but we might not get the exact ROI which we will derive from the money we spend on. So another, I think, year or two is what TV will come into the picture, and that will be 4 years of our journey before we shift to TV as a medium.
So you're effectively telling us that television is part of a slightly more mature brand's plan in the initial stages to build your profile, to get traction, to get better ROI.
Correct. So once we have kind of built a basic audience, and when we want to move to a bigger audience set and want to ensure that our brand awareness is there in the market, that's when we will look for TV as a medium.
So right now, television is not part of your plan?
It's not part of our plan.
Okay. Nilima, over to you. So for a relatively more legacy brand like Luminous, how do you see television as far as your plans go?
For Luminous, which is actually a 35-year-old brand, and more importantly, the kind of products which is inverter battery, majority of the spend goes into television advertisement. However, the newer range of products which is coming up, which is connected products for connected homes, and the new age products which has got, which is solar and renewable, those are the product segments where you go again more on digital, more on connected home products, connected devices, which then takes you beyond TV into multiple other mix. So essentially, while TV becomes primary source in terms of creating awareness, but even for inverter battery, when I'm looking for more preference or driving more conversions, especially during season time when you are looking for awareness, and non-season time when you want to drive more revenues, then you don't go on TV, you look at other medium beyond TV. So it's a combination, it's kind of a mix. While you use TV for a legacy brand like this for more creating awareness, top of mind, but when it comes to driving growth, driving sales, driving numbers, then TV is not the only source, then there are other medium which you start using for conversions.
Great, thanks for that. So moving to you, Jignesh, and I'm just going to quote some broad data. I think last year, digital advertising revenues were closer to 70,000 crores. Television has fallen back, if you just look at advertising revenues, not in terms of subscription plus overall. And therefore, digital has become the largest single advertising repository where Indian advertisers do. As a large bouquet of channels, both news and entertainment, in what way do you see the Times network getting advertisers back or getting advertisers to spend more on your bouquet of channels?
Sure. So, see, traditional advertising, as Nilima also mentioned, in terms of ad spots, is going to continue. But more and more advertisers would now want a storytelling. They would want to convey their story on that. And that's where content integration comes into play. And in my words, I call it media consulting. It's where, TV guys have to understand what business are the brands in, what are their challenges, and hence that is the way they will integrate with them. Both of them will come together on the table. The brand will communicate their challenges, and television guys will have to come up with unique solutions to see how they can achieve their objectives. And that's where a deeper, content integration, content marketing, branded content, whatever words we call it, have been there since ages. But the need is becoming more and more important now. And that's where, we see, and some of the examples, case studies, which I can give here, is like an SIP day, with Kotak, which we did. They wanted to create a financial stroke investor awareness it's there amongst the HNIs, but they wanted to take it to the next level in terms of delivery boys of Swiggy, Zomato, then taking it to the SMEs business guys on that. And that is where it was a 360-degree campaign, radio, television, on ground in around 5 cities. That's where they went. And it was taken up by a lead editorial on the channel as well. And then their CEO also coming in. And it was a 3-year campaign which took them. First year around 35,000 registrations, second year 50,000 registrations, and third year a staggering 1 lakh SIP registrations which they got. So this is coming on the back of awareness. Investors knowing where they are going. Had it been digital, it would have just been a click in terms of this and transacting without much getting into the depth of it, without much awareness. Similarly, there are various other campaigns like Hyundai, Be the Better Guy, where their CSR funds were used to communicate and make drivers aware about road safety. Again, similar results. So that's where, you bring in the stakeholders and integrate it with content.
So you're basically saying that television has to evolve from the standard space selling into more consultative selling. And therefore, your response teams will now work to tailor-make specific solutions for advertisers. Is that right?
Yes, we are already doing that. The traditional, like Vidit also mentioned, that it is there on this. It is there. The ad spots will come in at a journey when they reach 4 years, like he said, or in terms of a VC-funded company, probably after a Series A or a Series B. That's the typical stage I have seen where it is there on that. But yes, we will have to get into a partnership role with them and look at integrations much more seriously than previous what we have done.
Yeah, but for digital first companies, the other hurdle that they face is the relative high price point. The fact that to be a TV advertiser, A, I need to want to reach a national audience. B, I don't have the ability to segregate the audience, which means if I have launched in 3 cities, typically a TV buy will still cause a lot of wastage. My advertisement will be seen by people outside of those 3 cities. And therefore, there is both a cost overrun and there is the lack of segmentation or targeting possible. So what can TV channels do to get digital first and new age brands in? Irrespective of Series A, I'm talking about any brand. How can TV be one of their first ports of call?
Okay, here is where a lot of pricing innovations will have to come in on there. They will have to look at some of the advertisers. Ultimately, there are, I mean, if I look at from a news advertising perspective, there would be 1,000 advertisers who probably advertise out of the total 9,000 odd advertisers who are there overall on television. And to expand that base, to go to the mid-tier and at the bottom, there will have to be some pricing innovations. And one example of that, at our network is an initiative called Brand Surge. And that, again, it's a corporate initiative which we have driven coming from a personal experience of angel investing for the last 7-8 years, is where as soon as the funding winter happened, the marketing spends of startups went down. Their revenues came down by 60%, 75% in certain cases, as in when they stopped. So, a bit of probing, what I realized was that the brand building or the awareness was missing somewhere. So we rolled out packages for startups at 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 5 lakhs on this. And which, when we speak to startups, they're actually, it comes as a shock to them that can we advertise on at 1 lakh pricing. And that's where we have advertised. Of course, we had that anyone who has not advertised on TV. So these are all first time advertisers where we offered them and across our channels at these price points. So that was one of the innovations. And then for SMEs a few years back, again, one of the Australian firms, they advised us on how, we held camps in 3 to 5 cities where it was a package, very effective package, highly discounted to them, but it's for that particular day. All advertisers come on that day and sit. We explain them the benefits of television and they sign in on that very day. Again, there also we saw a very good response.
So effectively, you're saying that pricing innovation, bringing the price point to a level where a new age brand can also afford. I think that's a great example. I'm coming back to you with it, and the point that is often made, and I've worked closely with a few startup brands, is that a lot of startup brands are so reliant on performance-led digital marketing that their entire campaign is based on, quick fixes, like more likes and more conversions and such like. And somewhere in this process, as the brand moves to Series A and beyond, is the question that, do you have a lasting legacy? Do you have a brand story that's being told? Or is it that the moment you pull your money back from Google and Facebook, your business tanks? Where do you see the issue of, how does a digital first brand like yours, how do you build a brand story that stays in consumers' mind, so that when people are picking anything in your category, Kind Life is up there as a relevant choice?
So what we are doing is that we also realize the fact that we cannot rely on Facebook and Googles of the world, because the CAC will always keep going high, right? So for now, right now, 40% of the orders are coming through our nano micro influencers. We have created a community of 3,000 nano micro influencers. What we do is we work with them on a regular basis. They promote our brand, they become our brand ambassadors, and that is how our brand is being promoted and we get a lot of orders traction on the platform.
So the influencers tell your brand story.
Yeah, they create content around whatever we are, what our brand story to the end user, and hence we kind of get traction.
And how measurable is the impact of this? So I know the impact in terms of conversion and sale is one, but how measurable is the content that the influencer creates in terms of relevance and stickiness and memorability for your brand?
So social engagement is one of the matrix which we kind of follow, and there are a lot of tools which can tell you what is your social engagement on the across the board. So those are there are certain tools which can tell you where your brand kind of lies. So we recently were voted in the top 100 startups by SimilarWeb. SimilarWeb is one of the most, it's a known tool right now, and we were the fastest growing 100 brands. So there are tools which can tell you how your brand is performing and what are the parameters.
So you believe that Kind Life's brand story can be built in a robust manner that is relevant both in terms of your business returns, which is getting consumers, and in terms of your investor community without necessarily having to use television?
For sure, to the audience. So for us, our primary audience is Gen Z, and primarily they consume content on their, whenever they want to consume, right? And they are the ones which are born in digital world. So they were the ones who always had a phone. Hence for us, it makes more, that's the primary channel for us.
Fair.
More relevant for us to be on digital first.
Makes sense. So Nilima, over to you. Do you also see the lack of, or the fact that television is an expensive medium and that the best way to tell the brand story and to keep luminant in people's minds is television, or do you think that you could live without it?
I would still say that it starts with who is the consumer and what are we trying to trying to communicate to them. I think right from what are we trying to communicate from content.
So we'll start with two parts. One is the slightly, shall we say, the ones into inverters, slightly older consumer, right?
So if you look at the older consumers, which is inverter battery, 90% of awareness of the brand, TOMA is very high, 95%. What do you do to tell them that, look, there are better products and there is still better technology for you to upgrade? I would use television as one of the prime source for communicating. However, this is a tech company which has got a tech ecosystem. So television as a role of medium will not use it more for education or more for, or telling them what the feature is, how do you use them, not for those purposes. But yes, just creating sheer awareness is a big deal. So Luminous as a brand is, for example, is on IPL as one of the Rajasthan Royal title sponsors. Now all these things is only to keep the top of mind alive, keep the brand which is with one of the #1 market shares, keep that larger than life imagery, brand reputation, all those brand affinity. You will need to do those activities which is leading to TV as one of the source of medium. But the same TV, then I am also working with certain, Times Network is one of the partners where we are working on how do you create conversations and advocacy that they need to shift to solar. Now, same inverter battery base, now I am asking them shift to solar, which is far more better solution. There I need content-led programs of say 13 episodes or say 10 episodes to actually talk about, or a 20-minute series where you get up and say that what does it do, how does it make a change or an impact, or getting back with the print and talking about advocacy and advertorial activities. So it's a combination where you need more content, where you need more discussion, more advocacy. You then go into medium, which allows you to speak, discuss, message better. And then there are online, which becomes as a part of connected products, where you actually now want to say people it's better to buy products which with connected solution. Now you're talking to digital savvy consumers who want to be connected, where there is ConnectX app, there are features, there is energy consumption, there is carbon to emission, there is sustainability. Now all these things is digital ecosystem where you need to be relevant. But I would also say, Lloyd, it's about omni-channel. It's not just about one medium. It's about having an experience which is online to offline. Just the way in retail you have traditional and then there is modern trade and then there is e-commerce. In today's era, to say that, look, I will only sell on e-commerce, probably doesn't work. I still need to get into more touch and feel. So communication and media, I also feel is omni-channel. So Times Network, when I am working with some of the plans which we are working for summer season, we are definitely looking at not just TV, but the connected TV. We are also looking at what I can do with .net and .coms, and how do I extend the content seamlessly from TV to online and then to print. So that's the way, it's kind of media mix which you're always striving to balance in the budgets which you have.
Great. Thanks, Nirma. That makes sense. So what I'm hearing from the two advertisers on the panel, Jignesh, is that they're looking at an omni-channel approach. Of course, in the context of omni-channel, they're referring to the fact that consumer is never living only in the offline or the online channel. He may be in both simultaneously. You're in a supermarket and you're still checking the price on Amazon or Flipkart while you are buying. And therefore, as a medium owner, to what extent are you tying in your offerings with other media, which may not be part of your network, say with a digital, with an out-of-home, with maybe radio, maybe with cinema or whatever? How do you ensure that your customized solution is not just about pushing my channel first, right? So you have a certain reach, you have a certain credibility, but what are the elements on which you think you will need to do to make it more innovative so that your channels fall within the client's media plans?
Yeah, so we spoke about content integrations, and across content integrations, we have three models. One is a media partnership model, where the content is owned by the brands. It's just they want some bit of exposure on television. Very simple, their content just put on air. Second is our IPs, like India Economic Conclave, Leaders of Tomorrow, Digital India Summit, where the stakeholders Vidit spoke about. He spoke about the consumer. What I picked is all about consumer and initially, but as you grow bigger, as you mature, then it's not only one stakeholder. Then there is government which comes into the play. Then there are investors. So multiple stakeholders, and that's where something like IP plays a very important role. Like ESG, let's say sustainability IPs, India Economic Conclave, which drives the larger economic agenda. And that's where solar, for example, those kind of things are nicely integrated into that, where their voice is being brought across on there. And third part of it is brand solutions, which I just called media consulting, is where you work with the brands and create content specifically to address their objectives. Now, in the second and the third, both the IPs and the brand solutions, to come to your answer, it's not a simple television-based campaign. Depending upon the budgets and all, it goes much beyond, and these are largely 360-degree campaigns which run across television, digital, radio, outdoor, and any other medium which is required on that. And on ground, of course. That's where when I said, on Hyundai, be the better guy, it went onto roads to talk to people about what their problems are, how they can, improve that. Similarly, for the SIP day, the camps were held in various cities to address that. So it's a right mix of three, all mediums where you can create that kind of contact and have the impact to achieve the objectives.
No, so I understand the importance of creating intellectual property, creating events which are relevant to specific audiences, like the India Economic Conclave, and the Times Group has a whole lot of other ones, and a lot of credibility above comes onto the brand. But what about the entertainment-based channels, say a movie now or stuff, where it's fundamentally movies, right? So there's very little kind of content value add that can happen. There it's really RODP in a manner of speaking. How would you innovate there?
See, ours is more, we can't do much with that content because it's licensed content and not our own content. But I think wherever entertainment channels are creating their own content, they can, do, but it will have to be much more subtle. But the reason being, see, when you come to an entertainment channel, you're there to be entertainment. You come with no baggage, you just want to refresh yourself. Vis-a-vis, when you come to infotainment or a news channel, is where you're prepared to get information and sometimes to also take decisions basis those. So, but still, entertainment can very subtly have product placements, brand placements into it, but they don't have much leverage as compared to a news channel.
Okay, great, thanks.
Lloyd, I want to add to how we can further enhance. A beautiful example during last IPL was GeoTV launching their entire network width with it. It was on TV, but it was on phone as well. I think the big enhancement can be from TV to OTT to actually your mobile, and if we can get that seamless integration done, then the content has longevity and versatility or variety to it than actually a static medium. But of course, TV will still serve a medium of authenticity and credibility for being a larger than life brand, but also a big medium for announcement. You look at IPL today, which is a TV medium, but look at the brands which is there on the jersey. All of them are startups, right? So I still feel, I'm sorry, it is about the stage at which the business is, at what life stage are you from the brand and the business growth point of view. If you think that you're now big enough that you have a certain objective to get your share higher, to go to the investor forums to get more money or to raise more capital for your business, depending on the usage, TV still serves a huge purpose in terms of gaining that reach, visibility, and the image for the brand.
Yeah, great intervention, Nilima. So with it, therefore, just taking from what both the other co-panelists said, the big elephant in the room is measurability, right? We hear the fact that what do I trust more? Is digital measurements more effective? Is BARC and television measurements more effective? Where do you stand on the measurability debate? Do you believe that, I know you opened up saying that ROI-wise digital makes more sense because you know that for every dollar spent on a digital medium, what is the return you get? Are you saying therefore that television does not give you the same degree of metric accuracy?
It's not that accurate, but it surely tells you you can still measure it, the performance of TV as a medium also. Just to give you an example, in our scenario, let's say if we do television, typically our organic search, direct traffic, app installs will go almost 5 to 10x. That's the typical upside every brand sees. But when we spend any dollar on digital media, we get to know how much money we are making from that dollar what we have spent. To the T that, let's say if I spend $1 on Google, I'll get to know how many orders I've got from that dollar, which might not be the case in case of TV. Hence, when we start a company, it is difficult for us to spend money on TV as a medium because we don't know what kind of ROAS we'll get from that medium.
So I think effectively what we're hearing is that television doesn't give you the accuracy of measure or the return on investment accuracy that a startup desires because of the investors and because the business just can't afford the big money. Is there anything that you see television doing to sharpen that accuracy?
In case of digital, the data is provided by the platform itself. I mean, when you advertise on, either a Google, the data is being provided by Google. On Facebook, then it's provided by Facebook. Unfortunately, in case of television, it's a third party who's controlling that data on that and at an industry level. Of course, it will evolve over a period of time to remain relevant, to compete with digital. It will have to give much more data, to have that impact. But connected TV, for example, now live streams going on connected TV. So it's a right mix of television, live streaming, plus then this is where the OEMs come into play. Now smart TVs, where they are collating that data. So that is one form of evolution. Similarly, the other forms of evolution will have to come over a period of time. But both are very different medium. The objectives of mediums are very different. So it's not that one medium will be able to provide what the other medium is going to provide. The brand in its journey will have to go through, all the mediums to achieve its objective on that. So I don't think that digital will be able to provide what TV is able to, on that. So I think that's why the media management comes into play. Different mediums have their own role and that will remain.
So just to kind of close this whole discussion, I want a quick thought from you, Nilima, in terms of the fact that an often undersold virtue of television is the editorial environment, right? It is, let's say 10, 20 years ago, we always said there's a lot more credibility when I read it in a prominent newspaper like a Times of India or Economic Times or HT. Similarly, television kind of gives a halo of credibility for a brand. When you see a brand on a television advertising on prime time, it gives you a sense that here's a brand to stay. It's not a kind of fly-by-night, whatever, it will disappear in a few months. Do you see that as a big consideration for an advertiser? And I'm going to first ask you and then Vidit. How does the use of mass media like television make a big difference?
You said it very well. Actually, there are two phrases of sales marketing never goes away. It's been there for decades. One in sales is जो दिखता है वो बिकता है, and then in marketing अगर TV पे है तो brand है. So these two, I don't think is going to go away from the credibility and the larger than life image which we build in. It's similar to, I was talking to a couple of friends in production industry and they say कि जब तक बड़े पर्दे पे you don't see a film, it's not a film. It can be series, it can be whatever. You're not a star until you're on a big screen. So while this is some bit of traditionality into it, but that's the size and sheer size and the expanse of that medium which is not going to go away. But more and more when we look at the content, the way content is evolving will change the usage of the medium. I think that is what I see going forward. And more we see content is getting created with AI, ML, and all those kind of machine learning, which is creating more algorithm to content creation, which is actually multiplier effect of that. I think that is where somewhere TV as a technology on data has to evolve. The moment the data technology evolution happens with TV and this reach and the medium it is, I think we'll have a real good spot for marketeers to really get the best out of what you're doing on TV. Some brands have cracked it by, in past time we used to talk about how do you measure print, but then we also went into geocodes, we went into scans, we went into saying how many leads did you get. Solar, for example, is a new age technology, but very traditional. All the things is about exhibitions and print advertisements and television advertisements and how many leads did you generate. And for you with it, every time we went and advertised on TV, the leads went up. So can I say that it didn't generate business for me? I would say yes. I was at HP and we put the brand on TV, and that quarter, we closed 14% growth. Now, it is not just because of advertising on TV, but also the surround and 360 degree you will build when the medium will suddenly look very lucrative, and no other medium can achieve that.
Absolutely.
I hope I
Absolutely,
could
well
summarize
said.
that
So,
for you.
so I totally agree with you, Nilima. I think two things which advertising on TV depends on is the customer segment you are targeting to, and second, what stage you are at your life cycle. So, for example, in our case, we are targeting Gen Z, right? And they have content in their hands right now. So when we were young, we used to wait for Sundays to watch Chitrahar, but now people doesn't wait to consume any content. They can consume whenever they want to. Secondly, I think when it comes to the grandness, first we want to target people who are already online, and when we want to grow from there to next level, it's easy for us to grow from first 1 to 10, right? But if you have to grow from 10 to 100, I agree that we have to move to a bigger mass media, which TV can kind of solve that.
I'll just add to one example. I was talking to a friend of mine in Aether, a new age company into EV, very niche, again a startup, still trying to scale up. But again, why they are on TV, they said they have a purpose towards it. There is investor, there is funds, there is relationships, and you want scale and revenue. So probably that's the stage at which they needed TV. And I agree with you, it's about understanding what's the life stage your business is. When you need TV, you don't need TV.
Sorry,
Perfect.
just if I may add one point. I mean, other is also the, the product or the brand. When the more and more expensive it becomes, that's where it's not an individualistic decision, but a group decision, a family decision on that. And that's where again the bigger screen has more impact. When if you want to buy anything smaller, I mean 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, you can quickly pick up a shirt or a trouser or anything and act upon it. But when it is a laptop or when it's a television itself, let's say if you want to buy, or that's when it's a joint decision, it's a discussion. And when it comes on a bigger screen is where together that perception of that brand comes in, and then it moves to the purchase decision.
Great. Thanks for your perspectives. Just as a kind of closing comment, I think what we heard was the perspectives of two CMOs, one from a digital-first kind of company, so to speak, the other from a slightly more legacy-led company. And we heard the perspective of one of the key television bouquets in the country, the Times Network. I think there's one other macro factor at play, is the fact that this evolving media dynamic is also changing the media sweepstakes in the country. If you look at the largest advertising revenue in the country, it's held by Google. Today, Google is the single largest recipient of advertising in India. And number two is Meta, right? With its three platforms, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, they're pretty huge as well. Google, of course, has both search as well as YouTube. What we're seeing also is that there is pressure on the other networks to do various things, including at a macro level, mergers and acquisitions, right? So there's talk about TV18, getting into a merger discussion with Disney Star. There was the Sony Z deal that was on till a couple of days back. Right now is kind of called off. So I think there is that aspect in play with. What we will see over the next 4 to 5 years, or maybe even sooner, is a rapid consolidation. There would be, let's say, 3 or 4 large networks. And there will be a lot of small niche players catering to very distinct audiences. So the future is going to be exciting. I think there is going to be a lot of thinking to be done. But the good part is that there are always going to be innovative, creative solutions for advertisers. So thanks very much for this discussion. Thank you, Vidit. Thank you, Nilima. Thank you, Jignesh. And I hope we are able to answer some of the things that were in your mind for the audience. So thank you for being a great audience. Thank you.
Thank you.